Broadcasting live from sunny South Florida, this is KMA Talk Radio. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of fine cigars. Your KMA crew, the Italian Scallion, Paul DeGracco, Alex Tavella, a.k.a. The GOAT, and always telling it like it is, Honest Abe.
I like to smoke them like the Winston Churchill, like Jon Carney, yeah. Remember Coach Red Auerbach, smoked up for victory, yeah. Well, you can take my wife, you can take my car, but you can't take my big cigar. My cigar.
Good morning, everybody. It is producer Paul, or whatever they're going to call me this week, live with KMA Talk Radio, episode 463, I believe we're on. And of course, I'm joined by the GOAT, Alex Tavella. Alex.
Good morning, Paul.
I'm sure you can hear the screams in the background. Thanks to the tropical storm, there's no place that they can go. So we're going to hear that all day today.
Yeah, it's a Saturday in the house kind of day, unfortunately.
Yeah. And joining us today, because Abe is somewhere in the middle of nowhere without service right now,
Which we'll get
is
to.
William Cooper.
Good morning, guys.
Well, we get like a bonus. We get Coop.
No, always honored. Thank you guys so much. And I think Abe's getting a well-deserved vacation, so certainly understood.
All right, everybody. There's a lot of ass kissing going on around here these days. Oh, I miss Abe. I'm so happy he's getting a vacation. All right, he'll be fine. All right, Abe's doing just fine. Yes, great. He has a vacation. Terrific.
Well, I mean, Paul, for a guy who goes on vacation like every week, I mean.
Listen, I don't go on vacation every week. I just when there's weekends, I go on vacation. I work on the weekends, except for this, and I still worked. Well, I still worked this past week. I was in Disney. I still worked. Just throwing that out there.
I couldn't tell you the last time I'd been on vacation.
Yeah, I mean, my vacations are always work somehow. I shouldn't say. I did have a vacation last month in Orlando. I did have some.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you were here.
I did. No,
whole family, right?
Well, but that was the other part of it. I had the whole family.
Right.
And even when you have 4 over the age of 20, it's still difficult.
Nah, it's still work.
It's still work,
tell you,
right?
Coop, though, in your situation, if you don't get a vacation, that's your fault, right? I mean, you can take a vacation from your day job. That's not the issue.
I could. The problem is when I take vacations from my day job, I'm doing things like going to PCA, stuff like that. So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's always cigar coop related stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking extra time in Miami, so yeah, that's the trade-off. I mean, so people may say, "Oh, that's still a vacation." I challenge them to come follow us at the PCA trade show for 4 days. We'll break you down. Trust me. We will break you. Yeah.
Then you need a vacation from that vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's true. I mean, the guys who I brought, since I started bringing guys to the trade show, they realize how much work this is for 3.5 days at very little return.
The guys that you brought this past year, you brought Bear, right? Was one of the guys you brought?
Bear, Ben, and Aaron Nielsen.
So, was it any of their first times at the trade show?
It was Aaron Nielsen's first time.
And this is on a scaled down floor, too, right? Imagine if it was.
Yeah. So, for folks that don't know, Aaron Nielsen, he joined my team last year. He's got kind of some pedigree in the family. He's the son of the founder of the band Cheap Trick, Rick Nielsen. But Aaron's like a true cigar guy, trust me. But even he kind of was, it was kind of great to see his face as we walked into the trade show and see like the reaction, because you do have that reaction when you walk on the trade show floor.
Well, that's cool. It's got to be cool for you to see that and kind of know that, like, hey, I did this. I brought them here.
Yeah. Right. Bear, I did the same thing a few years ago when Bear went for the first time in 2018. That was funny because when Bear went for his first time, that was the year of the trade show fire. So it delayed the trade. His delay of going to the trade show was delayed like another half day because of that fire that happened.
Yeah, but Bear never went with his day job, right? He worked does he still work in retail in Texas?
Not really much. I think occasionally he kind of fills in, but he's not doing it as much as he used to.
Okay.
But he had never gone with his day job. No. Now Ben's a different story. Ben's been going to the trade show longer than I have, so Ben's actually the biggest veteran as far as
He's
this
the
goes.
seasoned vet, huh?
Yeah, he's been going since like it was RTDA, Ben. So he's been going a long time.
Alex, have you ever gone?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Do you know the question I'm getting from everyone? I mean, is Abe going? Do you guys know?
Yes,
Okay, so he
Oh,
is going.
definitely.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I wouldn't know. He
You know, it's
doesn't
funny,
discuss such matters with me.
I actually used to miss the trade show by like a week every year. I used to go to Vegas for the World Series poker,
Ah,
and
yep.
it's literally it runs until like
Yeah.
the 4th of July almost, and I would miss
Yeah.
it by.
One year, I think we did. Because one year they did move the trade show to the last week in June, and I think there was a close overlap from what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Huh.
I just miss it.
Yeah.
Well, you should have stuck around. Well, I guess as a consumer,
well,
if you didn't have
just sticking around isn't quite cheap in Vegas.
Ah,
No,
come on.
Vegas isn't
Excalibur,
cheap anymore. Is
$30
what I
a
tell
night.
people.
Right.
Yeah. Vegas is not cheap, and people remember like about 20 years ago they were promoting Vegas as this vacation place, and a lot of things were affordable. It's not affordable anymore to go to Vegas.
There's not. They don't have like the Excalibur rooms for like $50-$60 a night or anything like that anymore.
They have
I mean-
things. I mean, if you want to stay at the Excalibur, I mean,
I've stayed there. It's fine.
but okay, the
fine.
Excalibur. Okay, let's say fine or not. The Excalibur is nowhere near the trade show. I mean, it's all the way on the south
Right,
end of the
on
strip.
the opposite side, right?
Yeah. So that's really becomes the problem there. Or if you want to eat at a food court, instead of eating something, I'm not saying you have to eat at a 5-star Michelin restaurant, but it's still not cheap, is what I'm telling you.
Right.
Yeah, airfare was a fortune this year. I mean, people probably heard me whining about that all week. I mean, the team airfare bill is brutal this year.
We're dealing with airfare now. Actually, flying
Yeah.
up to New York because we go up for the summer, and it's like triple the price that it
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
I'm not driving anymore. I'm done driving.
I don't blame you. I mean, with kids, it's hard. I don't blame you.
Well, we
But
used to
I don't
do
know
it
how
because we
flying is
had-
easy either.
We had 2 dogs, and if we were going up for a month or two, we had to bring both dogs. I couldn't pay for care for the dogs for 2 months. But
Right.
now we only have 1 dog, and she's small. She can go in a carrier. So we're like, you know what? Let's just bite the bullet. But for the 4 of us to fly up to Long Island, even, I mean, it's still over $2,000.
I just went through it. With my dad's memorial, we were up there, and lucky we didn't get hit with the airfare. But we wanted to do Airbnbs, and those were very expensive in New York. We ended up having to rent multiple hotel rooms. It was cheaper to get.
Well,
an Airbnb.
especially going into now, like now is when the seasons start. People want to be up there in the spring and the summer. This is the time to go.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it. Plus, getting direct flight. I mean, we don't fly into JFK or LaGuardia because we're not tourists. So even though they're equidistant from the Long Island airport, we go to the one out east.
The Islip airport. It's an easy airport. Yeah, if you could, if the problem is where I am, I'd have to take a stopover to do it, at least from Charlotte. But that airport, I've flown that airport. Yeah.
Is that like our version of Palm Beach, Ball?
It's smaller.
It's like a 1-gate airport. Yeah, 1 or 2-gate airport. It is.
No, it's much more than 1 gate. I mean, there's only 3 airlines technically that fly out of it, but every year they add another airline, and then that airline doesn't last much, very long. But it's the Islip MacArthur Airport. It sees a lot of traffic, but I don't know. It's just not an international airport, so it's a lot easier to go out. So like where I grew up is like 20-30 minutes from the Islip Airport and 20-30 minutes from JFK and LaGuardia. But well, in theory, 20-30 minutes to JFK or LaGuardia is going to take you an hour and 45 minutes sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they're almost equidistant, but the Long Island one is just much easier. You're out east a little bit more, so it's a lot easier to get back and forth. But getting direct flights there, Southwest used to have direct flights every day. Now they only have on Saturdays. So we're going to have to do a layover, like Coop said. We're going to stop in Baltimore with the 2 kids and a dog, change planes. On the way there, on the way back, we'll have a direct flight coming back. But I don't know. I dread that drive. The last couple times we did it during COVID when we really couldn't fly, I said to myself, I'm never doing this again. Like it is the worst thing. Like I have anxiety about it. I hate it so much. I hate that road trip. And even though we have places to stop too, we have family along the way. And yeah, we finally, like yesterday, I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just booking the flights. Who cares? We'll figure it out later. You know.
I just did 2 of those trips to New York by car, and I go the western route down I-81, which kind of takes you through the back end of Virginia. And you
Yeah,
avoid
but
DC.
that takes hours and hours longer, doesn't it?
It's still faster than going through DC.
That's the thing. Any trip
It
still
up
depends
faster
on
than
what
going through
time
DC.
you go
make
through.
or break you.
It's about 100 miles.
Yeah.
It's about 100 miles more, but you will always beat the time.
And-
DC's bad all the time. Yeah,
and
it's
9
bad
times
all-
out of 10, it breaks you. Literally. I mean,
No, you're
it's rare
absolutely
that
right,
you get
Alex.
out of DC. You know, your
Yeah.
20-hour trip becomes a 23-hour trip.
Exactly.
DC.
So we usually plan it so that when we leave at night, we know we're going to be getting through DC before 5 a.m.
That's
And
the
that
move.
usually is my.
Hopefully.
I usually can go straight through. I don't have to go the roundabout ways, any of that. I can just go straight through. But you got to be there before 5 a.m. Like 4 o'clock, 4:30 is the sweet spot to get through DC.
So you
But
don't
other than
stop.
that-
Real
You don't stop with kids. You just keep going.
Kevin Shahan, there is absolutely no
Oh, yeah.
reason whatsoever to have a rental car in Philly. You do not need it. You don't.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Big
Why would
cities, you don't need it.
Unless
You
you're going
get
to
everywhere.
Jersey. Unless you're going to Jersey, then you need it.
Don't need it.
Yeah,
he-
because you
he's
stay in
going
Philly,
to,
they're probably staying in South Jersey because they don't want
Well-
to stay in Philly.
What's that? What's that mean, Paul?
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, maybe he doesn't want to stay in Philly. He's
Yeah, I never- if
Florida.
If I'm going to Philly, I don't rent a car. But if I'm going to like Cherry Hill or
Going
something
over
like
the
that,
bridge, yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
need a car. You do need a car at that point.
Yeah, you don't want to walk over the bridge from
Yeah,
Cherry Hill in
yeah,
Philadelphia.
yeah.
You may
Yeah.
not make it out alive.
Oh, you don't want to go near Camden. I mean, Camden, you
Yeah.
want to just avoid. Like,
Oh.
Camden's like the police don't even want to be there.
Well, wait. With that being said, our friend Evan is actually putting on a Red Meat Lovers Club dinner in Camden. But fortunately,
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
the
but that
riverfront-
spot, yeah, that's
that's
not
about
downtown
20
Camden. Yeah,
Yeah, that's on the riverfront on the battle.
That's where the ballpark used to be, right? They had a minor league baseball team right there. I
they
spent
did.
a lot of time
Yes,
over
they
there.
did.
yeah.
They tried. I mean, it's half decent over there. They put the aquarium there, and
Yep.
and it's a decent one. Just the rest of the city just never caught up. I mean,
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
You can hang out
Camden
over
and
there,
Atlantic
just don't
City.
go left or right more than 2 blocks.
Yeah, I mean, Atlantic City's the same way, man. Like, don't go 2 blocks off the board now. I mean, I wouldn't even want to go on the boardwalk, but even back in the day, don't go 2 blocks off the boardwalk. It's a little shady back there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, we have a fun show today.
Wait,
Go ahead.
before we get to our guests,
Oh boy.
we do have a little segment for the next few weeks.
Oh, you do?
And of course, I have a little note from our friend, Abe DeBabna. But first, it's time for Where in the World is Abe DeBabna?
Ah.
So this week, our friend Abe, we have a letter from Abe. Dear Paul, Alex, and Coop, been a heck of a few days here in Amman, Jordan. Catching up with a lot of family I have not seen in over 20 years. Today, the family and I went to Fatty Dab's Burger Shack. I love the name. I grew
Yeah,
up in
exactly. How
Chicago.
perfect.
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago with my cousins Issa and Fadi. Eventually, they moved to Jordan, and about 10 years ago, they opened one of the hottest burger joints in the capital city. It was great to take the family there in person. I got to see my cousin Issa and meet his lovely family for the first time. Burger was amazing too. Not sure if it would have won the burger battle though. Missing the gang. Give my regards to John this week and all of our KMA fans. Love, Honest Abe.
Nice.
Abna.
Ah, wow.
Nice.
All right.
Did he put a
Here's
picture of the burger? Is there a burger
Oh, there it
picture?
goes.
Little Fatty Dabs.
Ooh,
Uh,
that looks good. Cooper, do you like
Yeah.
that or no?
yeah, I do like it. I do like it. I was looking at my other
gotta
screen
be
here for a
cool,
second.
though.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it
gotta
was
be funny. I'm taking
that's a
trip to
solid
the Middle
burger.
East, and my family so happens to run a basically an American cuisine burger joint in the middle of Jordan. So
Yeah,
it's kinda
seriously.
cool.
the Babna is like all over. I saw some other pictures Abe had up. I mean, the Babna is kind of own on Jordan. It looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
maybe a
Abe's-
smoke game happening there. I don't know. Yeah.
Abe's kind of small potatoes compared to the rest of his conglomerate
Yeah,
family
yeah.
over there in Jordan. All right. Well, we're excited this week to bring on an old friend of the show, a fellow Disney lover. We'll get to talk to him about that as
Don't-
well. But
Don't even go there.
Way over exaggerated his.
Oh yeah. All right. We'll talk about it.
Look at the notes, Alex.
Here we go. All right. Here we go. Meet your maker.
I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
It's time to meet your maker.
Live from just a couple of miles away, a couple hours off the coast of Florida, it is Mr. Jonathan Carney from the Flor Dominicana in Orlando. John, how you doing, man?
Great. Good morning, guys. It was I almost took a nap there for the first 20 minutes listening to you guys.
Oof.
Oh,
It's brutal.
Wow.
It's brutal. So many things I wanted to say. So many things
Well,
I
go
wanted
ahead,
to say.
throw
Nobody's
'em in,
gonna
man.
talk shit about Abe. I love Abe. I am going to talk some shit. Me getting on the show today, this got rescheduled like 4 times. So Abe intentionally scheduled me when he knew he was going to be gone. I'm just saying that. So first. Second, who flies to Islip and complains about the price of the ticket? You're going to fly
That
to
is
Islip?
valid
You're like,
point.
oh, it's 3 times
valid
more
point.
expensive? It's 3 times more expensive. No, it's not. It's like $150 to fly to JFK on Delta from everywhere in South Florida. I mean,
It's
good
true.
grief.
It's true.
All right, so now
I
I'm
know, but then
angry
you got
about
to deal
that.
with the hell.
What else we got?
True. Coop and Paul brag about all these wondrous vacations they take to Orlando. I never hear from when they're up here. I mean, Coop went through town. I live here. He was physically staying and checked in like 2 miles from my house. So
Wow.
are you up in
do
Volusia?
you want to just do this show alone today, just you and I? Because I mean, you're the only
Just
one I
pop
can square
everybody
look
out?
in the eye and not be upset about.
Are you up in
John
Volusia
lives-
County? John, are you up in Volusia County?
No, I'm in Orange County. I'm in.
Oh, okay.
Winter Park.
Yeah, because I was saying in Volusia County. That's why. Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
miles away from Disney. He's in the fancy area outside
Don't
of
even
Disney.
go there.
Miles. Well, for you, Paul, there ain't no mountain high enough.
But no, good morning. I'm glad to be here. I've loved watching Abe's travels. The thing that was the most fascinating. There's 2 things that were really fascinating about his trip so far. I can't believe how much English is spoken over there in Amman. I guess English is nearly the primary language. I mean, everything's in Arabic and English. So I looked some of that up because I was looking at some of the pictures he posted, and I was like, man, there's tons of English there. And I guess it's a really popular tourist destination where you can go. It's relatively, very safe and beautiful area. It looks great. And then second was the I don't know, and you guys, the first class on Emirates
What an aristocrat,
was
huh?
awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
You
oh,
see
man,
that?
I was so
It was like a
jealous.
mini
So
lounge
jealous.
for each person. Each kid.
Yeah.
Each
Right.
kid
Yeah.
had one.
Oh, it was beautiful. So those are the 2 things as a traveler that I found unique so far that I've been real jealous about. But I'm looking forward to following some more of it. It's been great watching that trip. And the cool thing about it is, this is not to kiss his ass. He just genuinely appreciates and loves that side of his life. I'm not saying other people don't love their families. Don't get me wrong. But you get to really see the passion of that time he's spending with the family, and it's a really cool thing to follow along and watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, it's got to be cool. You're flying all the way to the Middle East. I come to Jordan, and there's like restaurants with my family name on it and stuff. It's
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Cool.
your kids too. Imagine your kids showing up. I'm going to take you to Fatty Dabs, and we're going to eat burgers.
Right,
we're
right.
going to go to Jababna's liquor store.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
crazy, right?
If I take my kids back to Italy, we'll be lucky to find a rock, on the farm where my family's from that may have our name on it.
Yeah.
But so wait, listen, let's get this out of the way because we may as well. We already talked about it a little bit. John, you before you were into cigars, you used to work at Disney. You worked at the Contemporary Resort, right, as a bellman?
Yeah. So I started. Actually, so the reason this is relevant is Disney's my second longest job I've ever had other than LFD. So I've done this for 12 years, and I had worked for Disney for 3. I had other jobs and things in between, but I worked for them for 3 years part-time. I started at Pirates of the Caribbean. I was in the retail store. So that was when I was in college. So I worked at the retail store, and I used to sell the glow toys that you buy that are violently overpriced at the during the fireworks show. Crazy thing, when I was doing those glow toys sales, we did like something like $25 million in glow toy sales just in the Magic Kingdom alone in a year.
Oh my!
I mean, it was
God.
crazy. We'd have like 15 carts, and you'd do like $3,000 a night in each cart. So you're doing like 45 grand. I don't know if that adds up to 25 million, but you were doing like 40, 50 grand a night just selling these stupid toys between like
just with the light up toys
and
wow.
10. Yeah, it was crazy, and I'm sure it's even more than that now because the prices are nuts. But yeah, so I did that. Then I worked at the Contemporary for 2 years as a bellman and valet, and I still to this day tell people that was like the best job I ever had because I worked 2 days a week and I made crazy amounts of cash. The amount of money you clear out of there was nuts. It was so good that Disney outsourced it to a third party, and then they started pooling the tips so then they could get a crack at some of the money we were making because it was wild, man. Absolutely wild.
Paul, there's hope for your dream job then. Find a third
we were
part.
driving. You had guys, part-time guys that worked like 2 days a week who had no other jobs and had bills and things. I mean, we were driving BMWs. I mean, it was absolutely out of control.
Right.
How much you can make just working a few days a week.
Don't underestimate the importance of the bellman and the valet guy. They're your source for a lot of things, whether it's Vegas, Disney, or anywhere high end. Those guys know the deal. They're the insiders.
Disney's huge because you figure everybody's like, oh, we'll just handle it. No big deal. Once you've been on a flight with 3 or 4 of your kids, you got 10 or 15 bags. We just talked, you guys were talking earlier about the hell of driving, and a lot of people drive to Disney too, from a long ways away. They get there, and once you're there, all you want to do is take a breath and start enjoying the experience. So the way that you can enjoy that is by, hey, there's a bellman or valet here. I'm going to give him $40 to take my 10 bags up to my room and make my life less miserable so I can enjoy some things. And, $20 went a long way. And, you're servicing 2,000 to 3,000 people a day through a hotel. You can do the math.
Yeah.
Wait,
all right,
people give you $40 tips? I severely under-tip bellman.
If you have a bigger family, Paul, and like there's like 15 bags, you're not giving them like $5.
No, I usually give them like 10. I mean, it depends on how many bags they're doing, like maybe 20. But
here's a couple tricks. My minimum that I was not ticked off about when I was a bellman was if somebody took the effort and you could add it up like $2 a bag. So if I'm doing 5 bags, $10 is good, and we're taking your stuff out of the car and going up. I was never upset with that. If you want extra service, you want me to go a little bit above and beyond, $20 is going to get you to I'm going to give you a genuine thank you, and I'm going to be there to help you out, when you need it. Like if you walk by, I'm going to recognize you, say hi.
Right.
Hey, anything you need? Hey, can you grab? Yeah, I'm there. Anything over $20 and it's not too crazy. If somebody gave me $40, hey, whatever the heck you need. What do you need me to help you do? Do you want me to? I mean, we would go and do crazy things. And, I had a guy that wanted Labatt Blue, so he gave me $40. I took the company truck and went and got Labatt Blue, brought it back to him. But no, you're tipping fine. But the trick on valet, here's a trick on valet. When you valet park a car, I think service is not as good as it used to be. Obviously, this was 15, 16, 17 years ago. But people would not tip you on the way in. So your valet, they wouldn't give you anything. And that's a lot of people think that, and you can have a discussion in the comments section on this, but why wouldn't you want to tip the person that knows they're going to be driving your car?
Right.
I always tip something on the way in just to secure that my car is going to be in decent shape. I don't want to be a jerk, because on the way out, I don't know if I'm getting a tip at all, so I'm taking extra care. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. People don't take extra care, but reality is, why would you want to tip the person that you know absolutely that saw you face to face and is going to take your car away? So what I do is I'll usually tip the person on the way in $5, and then on the way out I'll tip them $5 because I do even. But if you're going to skip on the way out because your car's already gone, that person's already driven it. So I always tip them $5, make them feel good on the way in, take care of my car, make sure life's good. And then on the way out, tip the same. Or if you're going to tip less, don't tip, tip less on the way out.
Huh. That's actually a good, what's wrong? The problem with Disney now, John, is that a lot of the deluxe resorts, the guy that takes your stuff out of your car is not the guy that's bringing it up, even if they're bringing it up right away. So then I'm always confused. I try to just take the stuff out of my car and put it on the rack with them, so I don't feel. I want to give the guy that's bringing it up to the room, taking the stuff out, putting it down in the room, the bigger tip, and I try to help. It's confusing, but it seems like it's outsourced, like you said.
So that company that took over was why I ended up leaving Disney when I was in college, is they outsourced it to this company called Cars and Bags, which is the same company. I believe they might be owned by Mears Transportation here, but
which makes sense.
You used to when you check in with a valet. Yeah, when you would check in with a valet at Disney, you would check in, and the valet and the bellman were working together, and we all were Disney employees. We were all cast members. So you check in with a valet, and we'd ask you, "Are you valet parking the car?" Yes. Would you like help with luggage? Yes. Okay. So then we would say, "We're going to bring a bellman out. They're going to help you with the luggage, and this is going to be the person that brings it up to your room if the room's ready. If not, it's going to be stored, whatever." So the valet, we would let them know, this person's going to be taking care of your bags. So they would take the bags out, they would take them up. So there was a distinction of who was what, and no big deal, right? Now that it's outsourced, they're both hungry. They both want to get paid. So it's kind of a crapshoot. And you can identify that they're two different companies if you're smart, and savvy a little bit with the process that it works. But at the end of it's not. It's like, who do I tip? Who do I do this? My recommendation on that level, identify who the valet is, the person bringing the bags up. If that person, and you're at a Disney resort, if that person that takes your car is helping with the bags, they don't work for Disney. They work for the outsourced company. Give them a few bucks. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. The bellman's going to be the person that's the cast member that brings that stuff up to you. Tip the bellman better. They're doing a little harder work.
Okay, that's good to know, man. Yeah, it's a strange situation sometimes. Then you got to pay $40 a night to valet your car, and that's always an issue too.
Silly. It's silly. It is wildly expensive. That whole, as things are getting expensive, I mean the cost of doing a Disney vacation is just out of control, and it's I don't know how it's shocking to me. I mean, this must be the vacation of a lifetime for most of these families that are going down there, unless people have good jobs, making good money. But for middle class family to drop $10,000 for 4 people for a week, that's a friggin' ton of money to go down there and to come down here. It's nuts. I'm fortunate that we live close. My wife loves it. I grew up going to Disney World. I'm not as wild about it as you are, Paul. I am a fan. And I respect it, but I'm glad we live close. I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, I don't have to stay at a resort. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. We can just go to the park with an annual pass, and it's great. But it's really expensive to do those types of things. It's expensive to do a lot of things now. I mean, everything's more expensive. It's nuts.
How long have you lived in Orlando, John?
So I moved back up here in August of last year, in 2021, got married, baby came in October. So I moved back up here in August. I moved down here originally in 2003. So I was here from 2003 to 2011. And then I moved back up to the Northeast with LFE for a few years, and then moved to Miami in like 2014, 2015. So I've lived in
grew up
Orlando
where?
for about 9 to 10 years. I'm from Maine originally.
Okay, that's why you're always going up there.
Yeah, that's why I'm up there. We won't be up there as much this summer because the baby's still, still nursing, and we can't travel separately and independently. She needs to be with her mother.
Right.
So we won't be up there as much this year, but we will be spending more time there next year as the baby gets older. But yeah, that's why I spend time in the Northeast and why it gets confusing to people of where I live because I'm all over the place, and then it looks like I have a house in both places because I do.
Oh,
How old the
nothing wrong
baby,
with
John?
that. Baby's 7.5 months now. It's going by quick. She just started sleeping with no assistance. She stopped her swaddle at like 3.5 months, and then we use these little suits we called super suits. And last night was her first night not sleeping in the super suit, so she's growing up real quick. I got this picture of us this morning that my wife sent to me, which was a really cute picture of the two of us. They tell you not to do this, but I don't really care. If this is going to give her bad things and cause her to be a bad person when she's 18, that's going to be her problem, not mine. But we had a really good time hanging out, and this is her sleeping this morning without her little super suit on. She came in and hung out with me, so that was real fun.
Nice.
Yeah, they always tell you not to do that, but everybody does. How could you not?
Yeah.
Well, especially in the morning, like when the kids are you get some more sleep in when they if they come into bed with you. So yeah, we still do it. My son is going to be 4, and he wakes up every morning, no matter what time we put him to bed, religiously at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not waking up that early. Listen, I don't work out anymore in the mornings for years. So he comes in, he sits down, he puts the TV on, he sits between us. I go back to sleep. He watches whatever the hell he's watching, Bubble Guppies or some stupid show, and we get an extra 45 minutes till the other kid wakes up.
Just curious, is she drinking formula at all, John?
No.
Lucky you.
No, all
Lucky you.
Yeah, very lucky.
Lucky you.
That was
because it is a nightmare right now.
My wife's very much focused on health and eating, and she's vegetarian, and the baby will eat meat as well eventually. She could try and make her own decisions, but she's really dialed in with a lot of health stuff. So when we were making it wasn't even really a decision. It was just instantly like, what are we going to do? She's like, well, unless I physically can't do it, I'm going to breastfeed. The benefits from it are huge. And yeah, the formula shortage going on right now. I can't imagine being in that situation, trying to find food for your baby at a young age. As they get a little older, 7, 8 months, 6 months, they can eat some different things. So you could supplement a little. I couldn't imagine having a 1-month-old or 2-month-old that I'm feeding formula and I can't find the formula they want. And the baby, by the way, too, this is another challenge. It's like, well, they can just try a different formula. They might not like it and might not eat it. And what are you going to do? Force a 2-month-old to just drive formula down their throat? I mean, it's absurd.
You can't. Listen, man, my kid's 11 months. Maybe he eats food, but maybe he has a bottle or 2 a day. And, you can't just switch that formula up. I mean, that might not sit right. Their digestive tract isn't developed.
Oh, yeah, they're very sensitive.
Like you said, I have no idea what, someone with a 2 or 3 month old that it can't breastfeed is doing right now.
My wife couldn't breastfeed for any of our 4 kids. So we were actually thinking about that, wow, what do we have done?
Right.
What a shortage. So yeah, I feel for you. I feel for anyone with that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just, there's no whole milk. I'll grab a 2%, It doesn't work that way with formula.
Yeah, so no, it's been excellent, man. The baby's she's been a blast, and she's a great little kid, and she's been sleeping really well. We all the COVID went through the house about 3 weeks ago, so we're she kind of still getting over that with some of the side effects and whatever. But besides that, and the little sleep regressions here and there, my wife's been doing a great job with it and takes a lot of pressure off me. I'd say the hardest thing at 7 to 8 months, and people that have kids, and you guys, you'll know this, all of you guys will identify with it, is like right now I kind of feel bad because in the evening time, once the baby's gone to sleep, when she wakes up at night, the last person the baby wants to see or needs to see is me.
You're worthless.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But I try to tell my wife, I'm like, babe, I want to help more at night, but if I go in there, I'll go sit and have her cry at me for 9 hours. I go, but she wants you, needs you right now. I go, and that will change, or, as she gets older, she'll have preferences, but, I can go in there when she's 2 or 3 years old and make a difference. Right now, she wants titty. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what
That's
it is.
when they breastfeed. When they breastfeed, you're useless at night at that point.
Listen, that's fun. That's literally advice that I give to friends, everybody having new baby. Listen, as a guy, for the first 6 months, you're absolutely worthless. You help where you can. They'll start coming around and enjoy you, but still, mom is the go-to. You can't really give much. You can do your little bit of help, but especially at night, like you said, you're just utterly worthless. Baby has no use for you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But now you're traveling a bit more now too, John. So that's got to be difficult. But after the whole pandemic craziness, I mean, you used to be on the road quite a bit. Are you back to a normal schedule traveling?
I'll never go back to what I was doing. The cigar industry had, this routine, I guess, that if you were in a vice president of sales position, director of sales, national type thing, international, whatever, it was like a competition who could travel the most. Rocky probably started it. And, I think right now, Juan Lopez, Terrence Riley, those guys are all over the place all the time.
Yep.
But
yeah.
before the pandemic hit, I mean, I was probably traveling just as much, if not more than most of them, and at least equal. In 2019, I had 297 hotel nights and 176 flights, and in 2020, that went down to 40 hotel nights and like 36 flights because of COVID. And then last year, I had probably about 80 or 90 hotel nights and probably 100 flights. So it'll probably stick around to that amount where, I'm most likely you're looking at probably 100 to 150 max days out on the road. The last 7 months has been a little different because of the baby. I've traveled a little bit different and had an augmented schedule, but my travel schedule's just picked back up again last week. I launched, our new season of the Gourmet Smoke Sessions, the Tour del Mundo. That's my event program that I've done on the road. We had big success with that last year. So I just launched that last week, and I was gone. I had 12 flights and 3 events in 5 days. And I was like, man, this is what I used to do every single week. And I came back, and I was exhausted. So fortunately, I work for a brand where the supply and what we make a set amount of cigars, and we do grow every year. This year is going to be very significant growth. And Steve Saka brought it up on Coop Show on Thursday, and I happened to just churn in. You have like spider sense. Like I happened to tune in, and Saka was talking about LFD. I don't normally even tune in at midnight, but I tune in. So we're going to make a significant more amount of cigars this year, but generally we make a set amount. So there's my schedule can be set to, hey, this is how much I'm going to travel. This is the impact it's going to have, and especially with those events, it's a little more organized, and it's just not necessary to be out there as much. So really the pandemic on a work side for me, at the long-term effects of it, really scaled back my schedule significantly and changed the way that I operate. So that was kind of a blessing in disguise. I would have much preferred that not happen and not be where I'm at now and have that blessing. But since it did happen, you can only deal with what's in front of you. And for me, that worked out fortunately quite well.
John, we were talking about the factory, I think, when you came on, and I was telling people, I said, when I was down there, when you and I were down there, the factory was at 100% full steam ahead. I mean, you guys were, a lot of work was going on down there. So I think it seems like you guys are back on track with that right now.
We're making an additional 1 million cigars this year, and that 1 million cigars will be from that additional 1 million will be from May, which just happened, to the end of the year. So it's not even the full year. So we'll be making an additional 1 million cigars from the middle of May to the end of the year, than what we made last year at the same time. It was interesting with Saka because that conversation he had and what he was mentioning, or when he was kind of talking about the scope of his business, that was from just a random conversation that he and I had about, I'd say probably 3-4 months ago. It was just in passing. I'd said something to him about, we were talking about the size of what he does, and he said something. Oh, he's like, I'm not even close to what you are. And I said, well, you're not too far off of where we've been during the pandemic, because we've been flat really for 3 years. And he was like, wow. He's like, I had no idea. And I was like, I think it really kind of put it into perspective for him of what he was achieving. And it was interesting to hear him reference something we had talked about, just kind of in passing. But you guys just posted a picture of the factory with the Statue of Liberty holding up a cigar with a Scotch whiskey. That's one of the highlights of our factory, and there's a lot of land around it that we're slowly picking up. So there is room for potential expansion, but we don't just expand for the sake of expanding. There was a big demand increase, and yes, there's a lot of retailers and consumers. I can't get this. I see all the sarcastic remarks online. I'd rather have people upset they can't get it as often as they want, rather than have it be subpar and then have to give it away at, buy 3, get 1 free, and,
That's valid.
50% off deals and blowouts. I have no issue with that stuff. It's just, I don't want my brand, and the brand that I represent, that Lido built and his wife, to be in that position. So we don't just grow for the sake of growing. We grow when we can, and it's practical. It takes time. This last expansion took 3.5 years for us to be able to be in a position to do that. But when we do grow, you see it quick.
Tell us a little bit about the gourmet sessions, because you've been posting a lot about it. What goes on at these events, man? So
it's kind of funny, because there's a lot more food events going on, it seems like, in the industry now. And obviously Evan and I are very close with the Red Meat Lovers Club too, and there's a lot of similarities in what we do. But how this really started was about 10 years ago. I started doing in-store cooking events as a sales rep for LFD. The events I did were called the Night in Santiago, and I would cook everybody a Dominican-style dinner prior to the event. Yeah, so it's funny because I'll do some events and have people like, oh, that's interesting. You're doing cooking events now that everybody's doing. And I was like, I've been doing this for like 11 years. And so we do the Dominican-style dinner, and then I would take people on a virtual and farm and factory tour. And so I had a video, and I'd take them through there. They'd have the dinner, and lo and behold, everybody at the event would say, well, where did this food come from? It was great. I enjoyed it. And they're like, oh, he cooked it. And they're like, the guy from the cigar company? And they're like, yeah. So it was really successful, and it changed what I was doing as a rep. And then we kind of rolled that out with some of our sales managers. This was probably 8 years ago, and they were starting to do the virtual farm tours and things themselves. So we did a little rollout of the Night in Santiago. I took a step back in the cooking side of it because my job changed significantly, and we were doing a lot of adjustments internally in terms of employee retention, new sales managers, new concepts on the road, trying to move from being the revolving door of salespeople to starting to see more consistent faces. So my job really changed, but we rolled that concept out to the other salespeople. Then the pandemic hit, and we started the Hacking Gourmet Show, which really was to build a reputation and a base of, this is why we're able to cook food, or this is why I'm able to come and do a cigar event that involves food. So it created a brand and a base to springboard for potentially in the future in-person events after the pandemic ended, and during the pandemic, virtual cooking sessions that we did. So we did 16 of them. We did 15 in the first season of the Hacking Gourmet, La Flor Dominicana Gourmet Smoke Sessions. The grand finale of season 1 is yet to happen, but the beginning of season 2 had to start. Yeah. So the grand finale will be with Corona Cigar Company, and we're doing a cigar with FSG tobacco in it. So we're making an LFD FSG tobacco gourmet smoke session cigar. But we had some issues shipping the tobacco out of the country, and it was just a mess. So the tobacco really didn't show up at our factory until February, and the plan was to do the grand finale in February or March. Obviously, that got pushed back. So I had to start season 2. So season 2, which is really unique, is there's 5 cigars that we have that are paired with the 5 dishes from different cigar growing and tobacco growing regions from around the world. So each dish is paired with one of the cigars from each of the packs that they have at the in-person sessions. And there will be some virtual sessions and some virtual sides of it. We won't be streaming live at every single event like we did last year. The main reason for that is setting up cigars. I'm cooking for 100 people, and then the hardest thing to do is to do a live broadcast directly in the middle of the dinner event, and add one more thing to the plate. So we're going to be doing a little bit less live broadcasts, and when we do them, there'll be some different concepts with it where we have a sommelier we're working with that we'll be doing wine pairings, pairing with the cigars,
awesome.
and then we'll doing some instructional cooking. Yeah, so there's a lot of fun things. So that's why I want to really focus on when we do a virtual broadcast on it. I want it to be really enjoyable and really focus on the culinary side of it. And at the same time, it's just too much effort to do on my end. It's too much work to do a live broadcast right in the middle when I'm cooking for 100 people.
And for every single time you're doing it, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
So do you have a culinary background, John?
Yeah, I grew up in the restaurant business. My family owned 3 restaurants. We had a pizza store, we had a upscale casual family dining restaurant, and we had a seasonal ice cream bar up in the Northeast. We call them dairy bars. So we did ice creams. We had a full menu. We have a secret family onion ring recipe, burgers, fries, you name it. Pretty much, you could if you took 5 Guys and Shake Shack and put it together, that would be really what the Snack Shack was, one of our businesses. And so yeah, I grew up in that, and I started working there when I was like 10, washing dishes, and I started cooking as a short order cook at the Snack Shack location, the seasonal one. I was like 13. So I grew up in that, and I was around it. My undergraduate degree is in hospitality management, and
Right.
so that's what led me into working for Disney. And then in between Disney and here, I worked for Darden Restaurants for a short period of time too. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
I have a culinary background, but I don't have a culinary degree. I have a very close to a culinary degree, but I guess they consider you a professional if you get paid to do it. So I call myself a chef. I don't have the degree for it, but I can go toe to toe with a lot of people.
So would you think that someday in your future, a restaurant would be a dream for you?
It's a dream, and it's not something that's ever going to happen. I'll be very honest, and I'll lay it out. LFD's been very good to me. It's been kind of funny throughout the pandemic, because I'd say one of the comments that you'll get from agitated retailers or consumers, which rightfully so, I can't explain everything in depth about how our company works. I can't sit there and show people our financials of how
Right.
we did very well for the last 2 years, and they still couldn't get cigars. I do very well with that, and I say to people, I'm like, do you think do I look like the type of person that would work for somebody that wasn't selling the thing that I was paid to sell?
Yep.
Or do you think I'd be getting paid if we didn't have something to sell? Like, the fact that I'm around means that things are going well. Because I'll tell you, if it wasn't and we weren't making cigars and we weren't selling anything, I would go find another job, because the writing would be on the wall. My goal is to be here for as long as I can. And, I've become part of the family and a part of the brand, which has been great. But to duplicate what I'm doing in a restaurant and to be able to supplement that would take hundreds of hours of work a week. And it's brutal, man. It's to make real money on one restaurant takes incredible amounts of time, and it would violently change my lifestyle. But the way to do that is to be able to grab something and scale it. If you have a business plan and a restaurant that you can scale, if I can go from one restaurant to 5 in a year or two, or I can go from 5 restaurants to 100 in 5 to 10 years, that's a different story. And that's really where the success is. So you either got to have something really high end, or very, very different, or, upscale casual. That's a new concept. That takes a lot of work to make real money. Or you could have something that can scale real quick. And in today's economy, and the way that society is now here in the U.S., I mean, there's no sit-down portion. It'd have to be some sort of fast food drive-through thing, quick service pickup. And I don't really have the desire to do something like that. The passion for me is in high-end food, and there's no avenue that I would go down where that would make any sense. I'm also not a celebrity chef, so the effort that goes into that's crazy. So no, absolutely not. Do I have any desire to do that? I grew up in it. I see how much work it takes. I'm very happy working where I'm working now, and reality is, Lido put in 28 years with his wife to build the brand to where it's at now, and I've had the fortunate opportunity to be part of it for 12 years, which is a significant portion of the time it's been there. And I appreciate him for putting in that effort, because I know what it takes. I've seen it. I've been part of it growing up. And to do that at almost 40 is, one, insane, and two, I think would take away from all the effort and things that I put in the last 12 years.
Well, and you've become very close to the Gomez family too. I mean, we've had Lido on the show a couple of times. We got to meet him in person one time, and another time, live from the Dominican, he was on the show, and he talked very much about how close you've become to the family as well. The good, I mean, he basically said, like, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You guys have kind of been through it all. So that's cool when you can say that with a company, I think.
Yeah, and when I started with LFB, I just turned 27, and now I'm pushing 40, and when I started, I was at a really transitional phase of my life, so I kind of grew, with them through a big part of my life and a big part of the business. And I was thinking about this the other day. When this company turns 30 years old, I will have been here half of the time the company has existed.
Wow.
Which is interesting, and I literally thought about that the other day, because somebody mentioned it on something I was watching, and they're like, "Oh, I've been here for 60% of the time." I was like, "I wonder how long I've been here." So I started doing the numbers, and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Wow, 30 years I will have been here half of the time the business has existed," and it was real pivotal times of growth. And I mean, in the time that I started to where we're going to be at the end of this year, we will have almost doubled in size.
Wow.
And it's a huge testament to what Lido's done. People ask me the same thing, like, "Oh, do you ever want to make your own cigars?" I'm like, absolutely not. I know how much effort goes into that. I'm really happy that I work and represent somebody that's went through the really tough parts of making cigars and is able to make the ones we make now, where we're having challenges to keep up.
No, he was really honest with us, right, Coop? When he was on our
Yeah.
show, he basically said, I mean, almost quoting him, "We fucked up a lot in the beginning." He talks about throwing out 15,000 cigars, and like
Yeah. When we were in John, when we were in the room with the tobacco bales, and Lido was telling the whole story about that. It was like I said, he's told it at the factory as well, Paul, a similar story. And
Yeah.
I'll say something. Lido's in his element down there. I mean, John, he just loves what he's doing. You can see this man loves what he's doing.
And it's kind of wild, right? Because he's in his mid to late 60s. He's got the energy of he's got more energy than I've seen of anyone in that age range, and he really does love it. There'll be times where there's things that I'll email off to Tony now at the factory, or I'll go through with my assistant, because I need something explained in more in-depth Spanish than I am able to speak, and something will go wrong with it. Okay, so it gets kind of screwed up. And I just didn't want to bother him with it. And he'll call me up and he's like, "Hey, Carney," he goes, "I'm dealing with such and such right now." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "What did you want to do with it?" And this and that. He's like, "Oh, you should have just called me." I was like, "Well, I didn't want to bother you." He's like, "No, not a bother at all." Like, he doesn't mind anything to do with the business at all at any period of time. There's nothing. He doesn't take a day off, because in his mind, his day off is going into work.
Right.
If he doesn't go and have a cigar in the morning and start looking at what projects he's got working on, he's not doing what he loves. Wait for it.
I always
It's more uncomfortable for him than being there.
I always loved the Bellicoso story. And he's upfront and honest about it. He named the cigar Bellicoso.
And he still names it that.
Yeah,
right.
He still names that, and it comes up. And it comes up all the time. Every time we send one, Anytime we send a Bellicoso, it literally, even the people that have had it before, they're like, this isn't the right cigar. So I go ahead and tell them the story that it was named that because he just liked the name, that it's the way that it sounded. So we named the cigar the Bellicoso, and there it is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say about Lito, you mentioned his energy. I mean, and John, you've seen it. If you guys haven't been to Pro Cigar and see Lito, like basically at Pro Cigar partying, I cannot keep up with him. I can tell you that.
I mean, the only person this last year that kept up with him was Carl Malone, and he's a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, he's
Yeah,
retired. I don't know. Have you seen Carl Malone lately? The guy's jacked. He's in incredibly great shape. He was the only one that could keep up with Lito at the best.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. Nestor's the other guy who really
it's been really fun. Yeah, Nestor's there, but but Lito's running a farm. This is not a knock on Nestor. So if anybody's listening, I'd not knock on Nestor. Just where I was going. He runs a farm. He runs a factory. He's got a tin company. He's got 7 million things going on. This last year, he decided to make ashtrays. And so if you see our astronomy ashtrays that he built,
we're gonna get into that.
He made those things. Yeah, we'll talk about.
I want to talk. We want to talk about it in the next hour.
Made them. Yeah, so we'll talk about so we'll get into that, but I'll leave that for that. But yeah, no, it's just been really fun, and there's a lot of unique things going on. Another one which I think we'll probably get into is the NFT. I'm smoking the Golden Bull today. It's just always something fun and exciting going on. That shows you that he has true passion for it. And I'll tell you, it's the same thing that I look at. This is not brown nosing, because I'll talk shit about Abe if I have to. It's the same thing with him. Abe must really like what he's doing if he's interacting with like 4,000 consumers. And same thing with you, Alex. If you guys are interacting with all these people on your off time, your free time, I mean, that's really passion. And there's always something new going on. I brought a Connoisseur Club cigar with me too. Packaging on that's packaging that was made from somebody who's really passionate about something. It wasn't just we're going to do a Connoisseur Club and put some cigars together. Same thing with the cigar of the month. I can't always participate in all the ideas and concepts that happen, but it doesn't mean that we don't sit there and look at them and respect them. And it's the same type of thing. People that are doing constantly new things and putting a lot of passion, it's noticeable, and it's great to see that.
No, absolutely. I mean, without the passion, it really, your job just loses its fun. Without the ability to do new things and think of new things, it just becomes Groundhog Day. I feel like any job.
It's boring. All right, we're gonna come back, speak more with Jon Carney. We want to talk about the NFT. We want to talk about the ashtrays. We're gonna do Name That Jam. We're gonna play Would You Rather. And we're going to, of course, get to the scoop with Coop. But before we do that, we're going to take a break. So hold on. See, now I'm giving myself the lead-in time, and I'm still not ready for it. All right. We'll be back after this. Keep it lit.
The H. Upman, Nicaragua by A.J. Fernandez. The original versus the heritage. What's the difference between the two? The H. Upman, Nicaragua, A.J. Fernandez heritage. The story of A.J. Fernandez, coming from Cuba, raised by his grandmother out there, has a lot of love for the country, but also he loves tobacco, and he loves his new area, where he bought his farm called Finca La Lilia, named after his grandmother, Farm of Lily. So he's got the love of tobacco, he's got the love of Cuba, and he's got the love of Nicaragua. Let's put them all together. So that tells the story of this triple fermented Brazilian Matafina wrapper and AJ estate grown Nicaraguan binders and fillers, creating a beautiful array of some sweetness, soft leather, a little bit of spice, with nice aroma notes of black pepper and earth tones. We hope you go out and enjoy this one, that it really tells the story of AJ, his love of Cuba, Nicaragua, and H. Upman. So please go out and try one. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. H. Upman, Nicaragua, AJ Fernandez heritage.
Hey, babe.
Yeah?
I'm almost out of wine and I want to order some online. Where should I order from this time?
KMAwines.com, of course.
KMAwines.com? What's that?
What's that? What's that? Hold on a second. Let me show you. You see, KMA has teamed up with Bonner Fine Wines to offer KMA listeners a fantastic deal on a Malbec 3-wine sampler. You see, here is their famous Malbec grown at an altitude of 8,950 feet. 3 wines from the edge of the world. An old French Malbec variety no longer found in Europe. These 3 wines, 200 years in the making, yours, KMA listeners, for 53% off. Normally $130, but like I said, KMA listeners get 53% off. That makes it $69.99. So what do you think?
I think we should order.
I agree. And done.
Welcome back to KMA Talk Radio. I am your, I guess, pseudo-host, Paul DeGracco. Joined by, of course, the GOAT, the Coopster, and our special Meet Your Maker guest today, Jon Carney from Flor Dominicana. Stop.
Hey guys, I'm actually gonna be honest. I'm gonna request that every show that I do on KMA have no Abe on it. As a guy that likes to talk, it's great not having him on the show. Like I'm getting to say everything I want to say. He's got much better stories than I've got, so it's like I get to be the highlight today, and Abe's aura isn't overtaking me.
Oh man, I'm sure he may not be watching now, but he will listen and watch later. So good luck with that, John. All right.
Well,
so,
yeah, when he calls me up to
back
ask for different dates, I'm going to say, Abe, can we find one specifically that you may be out of town? I just think it'd be better.
Please, he's out of town for what, 5 weeks now, so he's never going to be out of town again for the next 5 years.
Right.
You're not going to get a day. He's going to work hard for the next 10 years. All right, so we have a new segment on the show. It's called Name That Jam. We want to get into it, John. The way it works is we'll play you a short segment of a song, and your job is to guess what song and what artist that is. The audience can help. We got, Alex, 30% of people have gotten it right so far?
Yeah.
So don't feel bad if you can't get it. But let's get into the Name That Jam intro. All right, John, like I said, it's real simple. We're going to play you a very quick clip of a song. We play it a second time if you need it, and we're going to test your musical acumen. How you feeling right now? You're a music guy, right?
I like music. I don't feel very good about this at all.
Good. That's the way we like it. All right, here's your clip.
Oh, that's a softball.
That's what I get.
That's
It
a
is little
softball.
bit- I felt it was. I almost said this is a little too easy.
This was a softball. Compared to some of the ones we've had, that's a softball.
I thought that was just another another intro to the segment.
We can play it again.
I would play it again because I think you'll get it, John.
All right, here we go.
Dreamweaver?
All right, let's see. I got a lot of people saying, guessing correctly with you. They're saying the same thing. So let's see. I mean, that's the only thing that comes to mind for me. Let's see the reveal. All right, well, not bad, man. Did you
You're
know
right.
it?
I'm gonna. No, I cheated. Absolutely, I cheated. Come on.
Shazam.
Matt Tobacco knew it right away.
I got
Yeah.
the comments section right here, and I played it off. A Dreamweaver. I mean, I knew Matthew Tobacco would get it, so I saw his pop up first, and I just went with it.
There
Yeah,
he
no,
is.
but in full disclosure, I completely lied.
Well, that was Name That Jam presented by our good friends at Avo Cigars. I don't know Abe's little liner that he made for them, so let's just say Avo Cigars and great music go together. There we go. So, well, actually, speaking of Matthew Tobacco, since he helped you with that, I was saying, I think I was talking to Matthew a little while ago, but it's been nice to see you back on Smoking Tobacco a little bit more lately. Tell us about that project, man. Like, how did that start? It seems like you're more of a fixture again on the show.
So I'm just plugging in over here on the side. We got some inclement weather headed our way. So
man.
Matthew and I became very close during the pandemic, and it's interesting kind of how we ran into each other. So right before COVID hit, there we go. Right before COVID hit, I had run into Matthew in New Hampshire, and he and I just sat down and kind of talked and hit it off a little bit. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and Matthew was talking about how he was going to start doing some live streams on Instagram. Instagram Live was the fun thing at the time.
Right.
By the way, this is why
You look like you're on an island.
Yeah.
here is Disney World, and you get to see the fireworks every night. So
Wow.
this is my mother-in-law's house, and it's just a beautiful little area. So right now I look like I'm on vacation, which is great. But back to Matthew. So we went live on an Instagram thing, and when the pandemic hit, nobody really knew what was going on. You guys had the Socialite Lounge there, so you jump into that time. So Matthew and I went live, and then we kind of ended up hanging out every night for about 2 weeks on Instagram Live, and then we jump around together from room to room. And he had the Smoking Tobacco website, and he was posting things with that. And so I said to him, like, why don't we just do our own show? I go, we're hanging out every night. We might as well do our own show. And again, it started out awful. I was producing it. It was terrible. We had the Mayday Eve massacre, where I was trying to put on a Mayday Eve special, and then I realized I had to upgrade my computer, upgrade Wi-Fi, and all that stuff in the remote area Maine. So we just became real close. We started the show. His fiance Nicole was involved, got involved in it. They started dating right around the same time that we started the show, and then the world kind of slowly got back to normal, and I wasn't available as much. And originally we were doing the shows in different days of the week, but Wednesday was the day that we set on. And generally I'm pretty much available almost every single Wednesday. And then with scheduling challenges and whatnot, the show moved to Thursdays, which for people in the cigar business, that's why Kiss My Ash is so great. I know it started as talk radio on radio stations, but Saturday mornings were generally, people in the cigar business and my role are generally available.
Right.
Even the owners and the principals of the company are available. But Thursday's like one of the toughest nights because there's a lot of shows. There's a lot of media shows that started. So those are on Thursdays. And then also our events. Thursday is traditionally the best event night for a cigar shop because Friday and Saturdays are usually the busiest days. And then Thursdays aren't as busy, but people are available. So I hadn't been on as much because of events. But yeah, the last 2 or 3 months, I've been on 4 or 5 shows back again. And so it's been nice to be back a part of it. And I always really enjoy being on there. And I think our guests do too. And it brings a unique dynamic to the interactions between Matthew and I. But that's how we connected up, man. As I said, there's some people. Matthew and I joke around internally about it. The people like, how the hell did this random young guy who started smoking tobacco become friends with the vice president of LFD Cigars, and why are they doing a show together?
Right.
And I mean, dude, the pandemic hit, and he was like the only person that reached out to me, and we were hanging out. So we jump around. We were like a package deal there for like a month in every little chat room and Zoom lounge. So we took the package deal, made it official, and started a show.
That's a cool little story.
Matt actually gives you full credit for the inception of the Smoking Tobacco show.
Hey, I couldn't do it without his last name, but it gave us, I was the push behind it, and it gave us the little push we needed to go forward with it. And he and Nicole have taken it to an entirely different level. As I've stepped back, I really haven't been in, except as a as a co-host and co-founder or whatever. Really when I'm on the show now, I'm just showing up. I have very little, if anything, to do with much of the show anymore, other than being part of it and promoting it, and things like that. So what they've done with it and where they've taken it's been great. The branding of it's fantastic. I think they've built a really great reputation for it. And, it's funny because I'll go into places now. I'll run into shops and people identify me as the guy from the Smoking Tobacco show, and I'm like, I go, that's a riot. And we got a lot of listeners and people that follow it and follow all the things that we do. And the biggest testament to the growth they had, we just raised $51,000 with the match from Fuente for the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation. We're already planning and discussing next year, but that's a really big deal. Even without the match, $25,000. Just think about that. That's literally insane to see. Where 2.5 years ago was a little show that we were throwing together on our cell phones, and then less than 3 years later we're raising $50,000 plus for a really, really great charity foundation. Forget about just the cigar side of it, and that they're founding. It's a great charity foundation, period. So it's great to be able to contribute to that and be a part of that. And it's really an honor and special. And it's a testament to what Matthew and Nicole have done growing it since the last 2.5 years.
Fundraising is not easy, by the way, and what they've done, amazing. They grew it. It's 7 times the amount of donations from the last time around. And when you guys did 7,000 in 2021, everyone was wow. A show 1-year-old did this. Now it's 51,000. And look, I know Fuente's matched half of that, but still they had to get to that point. It's an amazing job they did.
I'll tell you too, one thing that's really unique is, other than the initial setup of the show and the broadcasting program and things we use and some initial artwork. I do the entry music, the entry theme, because I know After Effects. So I make that stuff. But other than that, I'm not Matthew. When we smoked Andalusian Bowls on the show, he bought those. I don't give him things. He buys them. I don't hook him up with guests. All the guests he's had, he set up. The only guest that I set up was Terrence Riley, and that was just because Terrence and I are good personal friends, and it would have been weird having him on the show originally and being like, "Hey, Matthew, hey, do you want to come on the show with John and I?" And if I, I'll come on the show, but why didn't John ask me?
Right.
So that was the only guest I ever set up. So he literally did all of that reaching out. And sometimes we talk about it, and I'd be like, "Well, hey, just reach out to him," and he would. And then a week later, he's like, "Carlito's coming on the show," and I'm like, "Awesome!" I could have reached out to him, but he's done. They've done all that stuff themselves. I have nothing financially. I'm not financially involved in it. I'm literally just there. So it's they've done it all, man. And yeah, maybe I had part of the inception. I appreciate that compliment, but they've done all that stuff, and I've done very little to aid in how they've developed it.
No, it's a good show. I like when you're on. I feel like you had a good dynamic. Your personality as well. It's been a welcome surprise to see you on as much as you've been on recently.
And I'll be on next week. Thursday. I'll be live actually with Matthew in his studio. So I'll be there in person, and that will probably be my last show in June. And then I'll be active with them a little bit more in Vegas during the PCA show. They got PCA coverage, so I'll be involved in that as much as I can. But yeah, so next week will be my last show for June, and then I'm tied up after that.
So I want to go back and talk about these ashtrays, guys. Coop actually, I was just gonna say Coop has one, and we were chatting about it not too long ago. Hold on, let me get a zoom in on that, Coop. Put that up. So tell us. I mean, you kind of told us that this like, and I think Lito did when he was working on it. This kind of consumed him for a while, right? Like this was like a
Oh,
major project for Lito.
it didn't just consume him; it consumed his being in his home. Like so the pandemic hits. All right, so everything's up in the air. Nobody knows what's going on. Our factory's closed. That's a beautiful shot. They look great. So everybody's like, what do I do now? So factory's closed. We're not sure what's going on. We don't have any cigars coming in the United States. We don't know how long that's going to last. Yeah, we had some retraction of our sales force to react to that, because again, you had no idea. We don't have a bonded warehouse here with like 1 million cigars sitting in it. Everything had to come from the Dominican Republic.
Right.
Anyone that comes to our office and our shipping department in Miami is always shocked. They're like, there's nothing here. Like, you guys don't keep cigars here. I'm like, they come in and then they go out, and then we bring them to the U.S. from the Dominican as we need them, and as they're ready. So everybody picked up hobbies. So Tony started learning Photoshop, and he got really into it. So he does all the artwork and all the advertising materials and all the new graphics and all of those things. So if you notice, those changed, improved. That's what he focused on. I started learning, broadcasting, Adobe After Effects, Adobe Rush. So I started learning some basics of that to do some broadcasts and live events. And Lito somehow started to like work with like resins and molds and making molds. And he got very into it. It was the only thing he did, really, outside of the cigars and getting that back to normal. Any free time he spent in ashtrays. And he was making them in his house. He was making them in his office in Miami. He was making it at the office at the factory. He's actually churned our conference room at the factory. And I don't know, Coop, if you actually got to see this when you were down there. He turned our conference room into an ashtray laboratory. It literally exists. So when we say there's the astronomy lab, there's actually an astronomy lab.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's out of control. There's all these different color combinations. There's ashtrays with M&Ms inside of them. There's different color combinations, sizes. The sky's the limit with this thing. And he's probably got 70 or 80 at the minimum different designs. And these are just the first ones you're seeing. Are these primary colors essentially.
How many of these are there? So I know that they're all technically designed and made already, but you're releasing them one by one. How many do we expect in this series? We have the red and the blue that we've seen so far, right?
So right now there's amber, which is the red, and there's a lighter version of the red, which is pink. That's come out. That's not been. This one you're looking at here is the amber one. That one has had an official release, and the Azul, which is the blue, had an official release. Outside of that, we've had a few that have jumped around. We have a couple orange ones that we've shipped in Miami, probably like 20 of them for the University of Miami, and then we have a green one. There's two in existence of a black that have shipped to retailers, and then there's like 10 pink. So I have one of the pink. I think Coop. It looks like Coop might have one of the pinks. You already got the amber. The pink's really
amber.
Noticeably pink. So there's endless amounts of color opportunities. So right now, in active rotation, you've got blue and the red. Those have been released, and we're done with those. There's been pink, orange, and black and green made, but those haven't received official releases yet. Those have just been ones that have filtered in. So I think you'll probably see at least another 1 to 2 official color releases, and then we're going to start getting to some more of the elaborate ones, bigger sizes, different shapes. As I said, there's endless amounts of molds and different projects with it. But I think you'll see a couple more colors here in the next few months, and then you'll start to see some more of the elaborate designs.
It's cool project. Very cool.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you, he literally makes these things. He actually makes them. So, I was listening to some different things. I think Steve Saka's ashtray came out with a handmade one that's really cool. and he made a little dig about people coming out with cigar ashtrays that come in molds. I know he wasn't talking about us, but I kind of took it personal, and I want to make sure that people understand. Like, these are literally handmade, and Lido freaking made them.
That's crazy that he's making them.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's like that ashtray. If you notice, it's clean. I haven't like ashed into it. It's here. It's here. It's so nice. I don't want to ash into it.
It is. It's one of those. Like you almost
Yeah,
want to use
it's like
I have the blue one and I have the pink one at my house. I got the pink one for my daughter, and I wasn't going to use it, so I kept it in its little cloth case. So I drove it up with me from the office. So I drove up from Miami, and I dropped it on the concrete in my front yard, and it's got some scratches on it. I was so devastated because it was that thing. I'm like, I'm not going to use this ashtray. I'm not going to ash in it. And the first thing I do is drop it in the middle of the yard and ruin it. But again, it's one of those things. It's like the nice towels that your wife has in the kitchen that you're not allowed to use. This is my nice ashtray. You're not allowed.
Well, my furniture here.
Yeah, everything in Coop's parlor.
Yeah, you can't sit on the furniture. Fits right in.
I'll have to get my hands on one of the orange ones. That's a color for my house.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coop. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the orange would be pretty cool.
Yeah, just let me know. I'll keep you in the loop on them.
Yeah, let us know when they get released. Coop, give us. Let's talk a little bit about before we get to the scoop with Coop. John, I want to talk about the NFT. Can you shed some light on this and some of the rumors that have been going on around it, all that kind of stuff?
So, for those that are watching and that don't know what an NFT is, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it's essentially a digital piece of artwork that's certified and protected and essentially authenticated by the blockchain. Which the blockchain, if you don't know what the blockchain is, look it up. I'm not going to explain to you what the blockchain is.
You can go down a rabbit hole.
Essentially it's essentially how digital currency and digital art or digital anything is authenticated, and it's a great process. It's really crypto's becoming popular, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum, because of how protected it is. It's safer than American dollar. It's very authentic. But so with this project was birthed almost 2 years ago. We started talking about it internally. It was Tony approached his dad with the concept, and they started developing it. So I've been aware of it for about 2 years. I've been aware of what the art was going to be. I've been aware of what the cigar was going to be prior to the announcement on it. But when it came to the actual announcement of the logistics of how it was going to be executed, I learned about that stuff at the same time that everybody else did. So I've been becoming educated on it a little bit more over the last few months. So how this NFT is different is the NFT is not the cigar. The NFT is not the tangible item. The NFT is actually a digital piece of art, which within the next 2 weeks before the end of the month of June, there will be a drop page coming out with further information on the auction site, the partners that we have with that, and how to become part of the auction for the digital NFT, the artwork. Now, the unique nature of what we're doing with this NFT is it's not just the NFT itself. There'll be 7 auctions. Each of them will go for 48 hours. I will give people some information now before the drop site. The auctions will be handled with the currency being either Bitcoin or Ethereum. So you'll have to transfer or change, purchase crypto of either Ethereum or Bitcoin to get in the auction.
With crypto. Okay.
Yep, it has to be that way because that's the authentication process. Somebody put a credit card on there, you can't authenticate it was a proper transaction with Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's very secure, and that's part of the blockchain and part of the security based around having the NFT. So the winners of that auction, however, will get tangible items. One will be a gift, which is going to be the gold bullion humidor with 70 of the golden bulls in it, which I'm smoking now. And you can tell this is a 46 ring gauge. It's essentially a big Corona. I've been smoking it now for almost 2 hours. The thing's it smokes a long time. This is the second one I've smoked this week. And it's a great smoke. It's the Andalusian Bull blend in a unique size. But those winners will get that golden bullion humidor as a gift, as a thank you for buying the NFT. And then along with that, the owner of the NFT will also have the right to buy up to 70 of those cigars a month. So they can buy up to 5 14-count Golden Bull boxes a month. They don't have to buy them. And then if they don't buy them, they won't be sold to anyone else. But they can buy up to 70 of those a month as long as they own the NFT. So when the NFT, if someone decides to sell it to someone else or exchange it or pass down or whatever, they'll always own the right to those 70 cigars a month for as long as we exist. And then, but they can keep the gift. The gift is not is not part of it. That's just a gift to the original buyers of the auction item. So the thing that makes this different than other cigar NFTs that have been out there is it's not just a digital artwork. It comes with a tangible right, the right to buy some sort of tangible good. And then the market, if those go on resale, if a retailer happens to buy them,
that was going to be my question.
Value, yeah, anyone on the planet can buy them. If I was a retailer, I would certainly buy it.
Right.
Because there's just tangible value of it. And then the price that it sells for would be based off of what the market's willing to pay. So there will be a price that we sell it to the owners of the NFT for, but the actual market value of that will be determined by what people are willing to pay. So it's free market. If it sells for $1,000, it sells for $1,000 bucks. If the cigar sells for 10, it sells for 10. If that's what the threshold is, my likelihood will be significantly higher than that because of the limited nature of it and what the cigar is. But it's a free market cigar. And you know, I read a lot of comments when we announced it. You know, people like, oh, LFD making something limited edition that people can't get. You know, something that's priced out for the common man. On the same day we released the NFT, we also announced the School of Rolling cigar, which is a sub $4 cigar in 3 different blends. So we make cigars for everybody. What puts the value on a product is what somebody's willing to pay for. You know, I don't think cigars have to be worth $500, but if somebody's wants to pay $500 for an Oro Blanco, they will, and obviously they do since that still exists. And you know, there's cigars that I've smoked that are $10 that are just as enjoyable to me too. So it's based what everybody wants to pay for, and there's nothing more free market than that. But for those complaining that we're making something that's out of touch for people, you know, we make plenty of other cigars. Our average price cigar is $10. So you know, we're in a very reasonable price range, and we just released something that was sub $4.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Coop, I think we can go ahead and chit chat with the Scoop with Coop, unless you guys have other questions for Carney.
Yeah, keep it rolling. Let's go to the Scoop.
All right. Here we go, Coop.
Hey, yo, what's my theme music?
The Scoop with Coop. Breaking industry news. Hear it first on KMA Talk Radio and cigar-coop.com.
Alex, you ever watch Coop? Alex and I can see everybody when the audience can't. You ever watch Coop when his intro comes on?
I love it.
No, what, is he jam?
He's always rocking out to it.
I always rock out. He's like your maker behind. I always rock.
Yeah,
I rock to the jams quite often.
So Hanging with Mr. Cooper, right, had several intros. Okay, that's the first one that they did with Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, that's the only one I remember.
There's a couple of other ones they did, but they weren't as good as that one. That's the best one they did. I want to say there was 2 or 3 of them they did. And I was a huge fan of that show, by the way.
I liked it as a kid.
I love that show. Oh, I love that show. He was like the worst teacher, Mr. Cooper. He was like a basketball coach. He was the absolute worst teacher in the world. But
he always wore really bright colored sport coats too.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I thought that was so cool. Like he had a yellow sport coat with a black jacket underneath, or a black shirt underneath. I was like, wow, I want to dress like that someday.
Yeah, no, and when that came out, like everyone was telling me, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. You know, that was like, it kind of like, it was cool. It was cool when that show was out. You know, it was cool when people would do that.
That was your jam, man.
That was my jam. So I love that.
What's going on with the Scoop with Coop this week, Coop?
Yeah, this was a busy week. So we'll start off with Alec Bradley. They announced a cigar called the Double Broadleaf Experimental Series. And experimental series is kind of a series where Alec Bradley's doing some stuff that they normally don't do, like work with tobaccos they don't work with. So they've done the Project 40 and the Project 40 Maduro, which would use Brazilian tobacco. In this case, they're using broadleaf, which is something that Alec Bradley really hasn't worked much with up until now. But what's making it a little more interesting is not only are they using broadleaf on the wrapper and binder, but it's Honduran grown broadleaf. And I believe this is one of the significant releases that's going to come out with a Honduran grown broadleaf seed. I know several people have been trying to do it. And apparently the Rubens got their hands on some Connecticut broadleaf seeds a few years ago, and they started growing it, and they went through a few crops, and now they think it's ready to do it. So this cigar is expected to come out at the trade show this year, and it's going to come out in 5 sizes, and ranging from $9.85 in price to $12.75. So definitely, this is something I think it's going to be one of the highlights of the trade show for sure with Alec Bradley. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that's interesting, Coop. This is have people been like experimenting with broadleaf outside of the States?
Yeah, so I mean, there's some Nicaraguan broadleaf that I know AJ's been growing. He's probably the furthest ahead of most of the farms down there. Honduras has been another story. I mean, I know that the Aroas were trying to do some stuff with it. I don't think they've gotten it there yet. So we haven't really seen much out of Honduras of anything significant. So this is going to be very interesting to see what this is going to taste like or anything. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be very different, and people are going to be surprised, is what I'll say.
Interesting.
Yep. All right. Another piece of news that came out this week, and it's kind of already started to trickle out, and we heard a little bit of this when Robert Caldwell was on the show late last year. Robert Caldwell and Tony Bellato, they own a company called Lost and Found Cigars, and they really changed the game, I think, over the last 10 years in terms of they really made this concept of finding cigars in other factories and repackaging them. And they made it like a really cool thing to do. And they've had a lot of success with it. But they've changed the business model of Lost and Found going forward, where they're not going to be doing much of that anymore. They're going to be focused more on small batch manufacturing right now. So they're going to recreate some of the Lost and Found blends. They're going to come up with some new blends as far as that goes.
And yeah. Question for you: Do you think a part of the transition away from the original concept of Lost and Found it had to change because it seems like in the cigar boom that everything was found?
Yes,
I think that anymore, right?
Yeah, and I think they were I think Robert kind of made that point. It like I said, they weren't the first to do it, but they turned it into something. And I thought it was, when I looked at like big stories of the last decade, that was a huge change our industry saw with now how that just became a big marketing, and a lot of people are doing it. So at some point, the inventories are gonna dwindle, and there's gonna be less of this stuff available. So
well, yeah, it would just make sense. I mean, it would be hard to market something Lost and Found when you have 95% of the cigar companies that are making cigars not being able to keep up and not have any. So it's interesting. The timing on that to me seems realistic.
Yeah, it seems realistic. I know Robert has been wanting to separate himself out from some of the other people doing that as well. So now these cigars are going to be mostly put in boxes as opposed to bundles, which we've seen in the past. And they're doing some really nice packaging with some of these things as well. So Lost and Found, I think, was more of a side project, and it grew into something they never expected it to grow. But I think to keep this sustainable, they needed to do a change, and they needed to keep it fresh. So I think it's a pretty good thing you'll see out of this going forward.
And they have a final cigar, right? I think I saw a video with Robert the other day that he said it's something they found a while back that they were holding as kind of the final release.
Yeah, I mean, he said it like when they announced this, they said they'll from time to time they will be finding stuff still. But I think this is, going forward that you're not going to see much of that anymore.
Well, cool.
But I think other people will still be doing it. I don't think it will change. I think there's plenty of other people that will be using this concept of, finding the cigars, but they're changing it. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What else you got, Coop?
If you're a My Father cigar fan, they have a limited edition coming out at the trade show. It's the Le Bijou 1922 Cien Años limited edition. So the Le Bijou is a line that was actually created about late 2009 for in honor of Don Pepin's father. And the 1922 was the year that Don Pepin's father was born. So now it's the 100th anniversary of Pepin's father's birth. So they have a couple limited edition cigars, like a couple limited edition sizes coming out with that in form of a Corona Extra and a Corona Especial. But they're what they said is these blends are tweaked from the original Le Bijou blend, so they are something different. They're going to be doing a total of 1,922 boxes of 22 cigars. And this is something we can expect to see at the trade show this year. So if you're a My Father fan, they're going to have that, and they're going to also have I think we talked about this, the Flor de Santillas 10th anniversary limited edition as well. So they have a couple big milestones this year as a company that they're going through.
The Le Bijou is one of my go-to cigars from My Father, actually. Whenever I see it, I usually pick one up.
You know, the box press torpedo is the one that got the number one rating. Very good cigar, but I love that short Robusto in that size. That, to me, that short Robusto is one of the best cigars they've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What else you got, Coop?
There were a couple of PCA exclusive cigars that were announced this week. So Christoph has announced the Christoph PCA 2022 Signature Series. It's a box press cigar featuring a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper that's only going to be available to attendees of the trade show. So you have to be there to order it. And then yesterday, Ace Prime, company owned by Luciano Morellis, distributed by Crown Heads, they announced a cigar called Maria Lucia, which is a cigar named in the honor of the founder of the company, Luciano's mother. So that's another broadleaf cigar that's coming out, box press limited edition. So you could expect to see those, and that's a nice. I should have sent you a picture on that, and I goofed, but that's a really nice presentation they're doing of that. We just had Luciano on our show last week, and he's an incredible guy. He's like the biochemist of the cigar industry, as well. Just say.
Man, I was on a fishing trip with him like a month ago, and man, he's just got 10 billion things going on. He's got irons in every fire, and he's the one stoking the fire. He's not just throwing it in and letting somebody stoke it. It was fascinating to watch how many different projects he has going on: cigars, wine, you name it. He's got something going on with it.
Yeah, he talked a lot about. He came out to the media house last year and kind of did a clinic at the compound. And, he talks about that, and then he talks about how taste is, the enzymes in the body, process taste and all that. He's just really into that whole biochemistry angle of things. And if you really want to geek out with cigars, there's no better way to do it than with him. But you're right, John. He's got a ton of stuff going on. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been doing.
We were on the boat, and he's like, what tobaccos do you like smoking? And I was like, well, I like this. He's like, what's the one you just smoked? So I told him what I'd smoked, and he pulled out a cigar, and he's like, this is a new blend I'm working on, a new project. And he goes, tell me what you think of it. And he's like, it's got similar tobaccos. I mean, and then he did it to me again, like at night. He's like, what are you smoking now? And he's like, well, try this. So he was on the phone half the time too when we were fishing. And I was like, good grief, man. I'm like, yeah. Then we were sampling his wine. And I'm like, what the heck? I mean, what don't you have going on? I'm like, where's your bottle of water and protein shake, man?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's a great guy. And just like I said, he's been an asset, I think, to the industry since he's come in for sure.
That's cool.
Yep. Okay, one other note I'll make is Favilli cigars, which is the reincarnation or what Mombacho cigars is being called now in the U.S. But they've been going a major transformation as a company. I think we've talked about a couple projects. They announced another project this week. It was kind of the ultimate teaser. They're going to be doing a collaboration with a gentleman by the name of Fabian Ziegler, who people know from the Drew Estate days. My guess is Fabian, when he was with Drew Estate, he was big into the infused and flavored cigar space. My guess it's going to be something related to that. I mean, if you're going to bring Fabian in for collaboration, most likely that's what it's going to be. But they haven't announced the details of that yet. That's going to be forthcoming. So, That's another case of they're announcing that they're going to announce a cigar, but they did say it was with Fabian Ziegler.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's always little snippets coming from that company, but like never like a full story about what exactly is going on. It seems.
Well, they did. They kind of have been doing that throughout the whole year, but I think they did the Granada line. They've kind of told the whole details, which is the rebranding of that whole core line.
Right. Okay.
I think they're making a lot of good moves as a company. I like what they're doing with the blends. I like what they're doing with the packaging of things. So I think they're undergoing a major like transformation of that company as a whole.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Is that that's it?
I got one more. Can I get one more? But I'm going to put John on the spot with this one. So, John, it's Lito spilled the beans a little. Soleil.
It's actually not called that, but it's called Soli.
Soli. Okay.
So
see?
what you've seen online, I corrected it on Thursday with Matthew. It's called Soli. It's a blend that Lito Jr. was working on for the last. Honestly, he's been working on it for like 4 years. I've smoked 4 or 5 different iterations of it over the years, and then Lito spilled the beans on it, and I started to get asked a bunch of questions. I have seen packaging. I have seen the concept of it. It's essentially going to be the opposite of Lennox, not opposite in terms of body and blend. You know, it's not blend's very different, but not in body. It's going to be a fuller bodied cigar, but it's going to be natural wrapper. It's a sun concept. It's a play on words,
right?
Sun, S-U-N and S-O-N, and it's going to be essentially the opposite of Lennox. If you put them side by side, they would be the antithesis of each other. But yeah, that's coming at the trade show. Probably going to have more information on that by the end of June. Usually we start having information and artwork and things trickle in a week or two before the trade show. So it'll be coming soon. But yeah, that was leaked out, and that'll be kind of fun. We have a couple of new projects we've been working on over the years that we haven't been able to do. So I don't know exactly which ones are coming, but we will have information on our lineup for the PCA show within the next probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Nice. And I think Smoking Tobacco was actually, I know it was on Smoking Tobacco that it was Lito spilled the beans. So check out that show, and I'm sure you'll get more details on that.
Yeah, he said like 3 or 4 different things that raised a bunch of people started asking me questions about after that I have like 10% of the information on. So I came back from vacation with a bunch of text messages about a new cigar, and I'm like, oh God! I'm like, what did he say?
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, if you want more news, check out cigar-coop.com, reviews, and Coop, anything big coming up? Well, you're prepping for the trade show, right?
Yeah, and actually we start on the Thursday night show our 4 weeks of PCA pregame coverage, and we're kicking it off with Scott Pierce, who just reconfirmed with me this morning. He'll be the guest on Thursday night. So
good.
Yep. So we'll get a lot of questions answered you want with Scott. So you want to stay tuned on that.
Well, very cool.
Yep.
So that's at cigar-coop.com, the primetime show. And
yep.
If you like, I watched a lot. I mean, like John, I don't always sit and watch like the whole show all at once, but I watched some of the show with Saka the other day.
Yeah, and if you watch the first hour, you will learn about all of Saka's PCA releases.
You know what? I didn't see the first hour. I caught him a little bit later.
Yep. He announced what he's doing for the PCA this year. He's got 3 things planned. I'll just tell you what they are, and there's more detail. There's the Bewitched Molester de Saka. Right. There is the Mi Querida Black Label Saka Khan size. It's called Saka Khan. Right. And then there is a new Stillwell Star, which is the pipe tobacco line, which is a this one actually is a holiday blend. Like they do a lot of holiday pipe blends at the end of the year. So this one has like a holiday blend is what he's talking about. So
one
those
thing
are the
I
3 things
wish
he confirmed.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting, but it didn't go on as long as I wanted, and I wish somebody would press him a little bit harder on it. You started talking about the flavor situation going on. It touched upon for a little bit. I wish somebody would really, maybe I will on the Smoking Tobacco show, but I wish somebody really hammer him on some questions about the flavored stuff, since he was the CEO of the largest company in the planet that makes flavored infused cigars. It'd be really interesting if he can talk about different things without legal issues, because they had to have been planning for what just happened recently forever.
Years, right?
So it'd
Yeah.
be really interesting to hammer and dig deep into some of his real opinions on the flavored situation. I know we touched on it, but like, what were the inner workings and what were inner discussions when they were coming out with new acids? And I don't know, maybe they weren't thinking of anything at all. I don't know, but they had to have been planning for this while he was still there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question you bring up for sure. We didn't go on that on Thursday night. We did talk a little about acid. Like, there's people who are doing some of the controversial packaging, and they're like, well, you guys are still promoting acid. Well, acid's packaging is not controversial in that respect. It's not like that's not where the FDA is not really looking at that as much as some of this other packaging.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, that's what we got into a little more with him on that.
Well, cool. So check out cigarhavingcoop.com for more info on that. And boys, are you ready with a tale of the tape for this week?
Yep.
Yes, we
All right.
are.
Well, so let's hop right into that.
All right, tale of the tape, season 4. We're down to the last two. Coming in at number 2 for me is the San Diego Chicken, one of the most recognizable mascots out there. The weird thing about the Chicken is he's not really tied to a team per se. He started as like a radio mascot, most closely aligned with the San Diego Padres, I would say. But when you talk about high energy antics, San Diego Chicken is all over the place. If you ever seen videos of them, of course, I always love to talk about some of the mishaps of these mascots. San Diego Chicken actually once had to pay out in a lawsuit $300,000 for tackling a Chicago Bulls cheerleader. Don't ask me why he was at a Bulls game, but San Diego Chicken, number 2. Go.
Mine was also the San Diego Chicken, and I think the Chicken is kind of at this point semi-retired, if not totally retired. I don't think they've replaced him, but if you go back to the late 70s, he was really the first mascot that made mascots cool. And I remember like Saturday mornings. This is probably before most of you guys' time. There was a show on called The Baseball Bunch. It was hosted by Johnny Bench. And it was like a baseball clinic type show and it was great. If you're a kid and a baseball fan, you love the show. They had baseball players on, but the Chicken was always on to provide the comic relief on that show. Just kind of, because again, it's kind of like baseball geekdom, but the Chicken added that comic relief. So to me, yeah, he was like the mascot that made mascots cool. And certainly, I think the Padres actually contracted him. I think it was the deal.
Right.
He wasn't the actual Padres mascot, but he was associated with the team.
Well, and what's funny about the San Diego Chicken is that being in I have a broadcasting background in college and high school, and went to a broadcasting school. A lot of people talk about him because yes, he started with the radio station, and he won some kind of a lawsuit early on when he became really big and they tried to replace him with someone. The original San Diego Chicken guy won a lawsuit saying that he developed the character, that he was the owner of the like character itself or the mannerisms.
So I was doing some reading and they actually tried to replace the guy who plays the Chicken with somebody else. And they wound up getting like booed out of the stadium. Like everybody could just tell right away it wasn't the Chicken guy.
Yeah.
He also won a lawsuit against Barney. Actually, he was sued by whatever corporate Barney company because he did some
Barney the dinosaur or Barney
because he did slapstick comedy dance contest with a Barney-like figure, and it won. They said it was obviously parody. So it's got some.
This is a very litigious mascot.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
yes.
He won the lawsuit though. The chicken won that
He
lawsuit.
did. He did. He won the Barney lawsuit.
Yeah.
I can't believe it that you guys have. So do you guys at this point are you assuming that your number one is the same?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Without a
It's gotta
doubt. I
be the-
think we
it's gotta
knew
be the-
our top three was going to be the same. I think we even knew the order.
Yeah.
You're obviously number one's going to be the Philly Fanatic. So for
Can't
Coop.
discuss that on the show.
Can't disclose that. Yeah. That's,
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I know,
would-
but it's
I
not
would
on the top
assume that-
10, so it's got to be number one.
Right.
Well, you know.
I thought the San Diego Chicken would end up being one, to be honest, because he was kind of like one of the
I
first.
just couldn't do it.
Yeah, of course not.
I do like to see stuff on there from the Magic. I think he's
I have stuff. I had stuff. I had him on there.
Incredibly underrated mascot, man.
Oh, I
Incredibly
agree.
underrated.
I love watching stuff.
I
The
would-
Magic Dragon.
Stuff. Wally from the Green Monster would be on mine, and then I would have that Phoenix Suns gorilla in the top five.
I had him on there too.
Gorilla.
I had him on there too.
Gorilla's a high flyer.
What made this tough is we did integrate college mascots in, and there's some great college mascots.
Yeah, it was all sports mascots. Sorry.
Yeah,
There's a lot of screaming going on here, so I'm trying to mute myself in between the screaming and crying.
College has all the good live mascots too. I don't
Yeah,
think there's any
that's-
protein with real, live animals. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's so weird to me that those still exist. You would think in the days of PETA and protests
Right,
and that kind of thing that these things wouldn't exist anymore.
Well, they're pets, man. They're pets, and they have a job. I mean, what's more free than making money?
Yeah.
I guess that's true. All right, so Alex, do you have would you rather questions?
I do.
All right. So why don't we get into our new segment? Well, before we do that, John, is there anything you want to touch on that our listeners or viewers should be looking forward to in the next couple of months from LFD? Is there anything in particular you want to plug?
I mean, we hit on all of it. I mean,
okay.
I mean, we've got the gourmet sessions are going on. We've got a virtual session at the end of the month. We've got a in-person session in Pennsylvania, the third week of June. I said traveling started back up again. Well, the PCA stuff's slowly leaking out. We'll have more info on that. The NFT, the ashtrays. The only thing I would say to people listening, there are more LFD cigars coming out. We appreciate your patience. We understand if you're a retailer watching the challenges of having something that's popular and sells well for you and it moves faster than we're able to get, but we've made a lot of moves on that. It just takes time. It takes time to get a natural product to get out there. And as I said, we'd much rather be patient and have people upset or frustrated that it's taking time to get it rather than having it come out and be rushed and have you calling up complaining that it's awful. So
We don't want
we
an
appreciate the
inferior
patience. Yeah, we appreciate the patience over the pandemic, and so we're slowly working our way out of it. And last month was our best month ever. This is the best start to June we've ever had. So we appreciate the patience, and there is relief on the way.
Awesome. Good to hear. All right, now let's go to Would You Rather.
Would you rather?
Would You Rather, presented by our good friends at Gurkha Cigars, and always gotta love Juan's little intro there. Probably
amazing.
taken from his Facebook travels somewhere. All right, go ahead, Alex.
All right, here we go. We got 3 questions. Starting number 1. Would you rather give up meat or give up cigars?
Wow, Carney, that is a
Wow.
That's just nasty, man. That's a mean question. You
I
guys,
think
you
I know
guys
the
are
answer to
rotten.
that one.
I come on here to the show for a couple hours, and this is the question I get at the end.
They get stranger. Sorry.
All meat.
All meat forever.
Yeah,
Or
I'd
all
give up
cigar.
cigars. I'd give up cigars.
Wow.
Wow.
That's gotta be a hard decision, yeah.
Man, I love chicken. I love fish. I love beef. I love wild game.
So
if I
it was
had
just
to
red
give
meat-
one up.
If it was just red meat, you could can the red meat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yep. If it was just red meat, I'd give up the red meat. But if I'm giving up all protein, all muscle based protein, it would cigars, you're gone.
Fair enough.
But
All
and
right.
Matthew just put it. My wife's vegetarian, and
It's true.
and I think she's probably shocked by my answer because she does eat good food and I enjoy it, but I enjoy it because there's always a side of meat with it.
There's your portion on the side too.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Would you rather be in a real life version of The Walking Dead or Jurassic Park?
I had a conversation briefly with Abe on this when he asked about like technology and military and things. I don't see why in Jurassic Park they're having such an issue with dinosaurs. There's like heat-seeking missiles. There's drone strikes. I would much rather be in a live version of a real life version of Jurassic Park because I think I watch those movies and I see what they've done wrong. And I know what I would do. And I would have an arsenal, and I would have my own military, and I would take the dinos out. So zombies, I don't want to be part of that.
I agree. You can contain the dinosaurs. The zombies always seem to get out somehow because they're super intelligent.
All right. Well, here we go. Question number 3. Would you rather have a head the size of a watermelon? You're close. Or the size of a tennis ball?
Oh man, the size of a watermelon for sure. Size of a watermelon. I said I'm already close. So
Well, I figured maybe you change your pace. You might want to see what the other side's like.
Tennis ball's almost a little too small, man.
Right.
That's
Like
tiny.
a little Beetlejuice head shrinker guy.
I was gonna say, yeah.
No, watermelon sounds very appealing. I think there's probably people that have like big head fetishes. There's not a lot of small head fetishes outside of like those really out there like religious groups in like India that are all about cannibalism and tiny heads and things like that.
Right.
Well, there you have it. Would you rather?
Would you rather, presented by our good friends over at Gurkha Cigars. Hey, John, man, we really appreciate you coming on, and it means a lot to us. It's always a good conversation. I'm glad you got to talk a little bit this week.
Yeah, I said nothing negative on Abe. It's just you put two big talkers in a room. I'm going to let Abe talk. So it was a pleasure. I said, if you guys are short on a guest over the next 5 weeks, I'd be happy to jump on. Those other 47 weeks, I don't think I'm going to be interested in any longer.
And Coop and I promise. I'm up in Orlando. Well, summer I usually avoid Orlando, but Coop and I promise we'll reach out to you when we're up in Orlando again.
Yeah, it was tough this time, John. I was dealing with a lot of family stuff.
It's tough when I'm home. I'm with the baby too a lot of the time,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's tough. So I may not even be able to connect up, but we definitely love to go to the park with you sometime, Paul. Just preferably Epcot, but yeah, anytime
All
you're up,
about
let me
Epcot,
know if
yeah.
it works out. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. I don't take it personal.
Absolutely, man.
Except on the
John,
day
I'd like to
that
go to
I
Corona
posted
Cigar
I
with
do
you.
Take it very personal.
Yeah, I like to go to
Yeah,
Corona
man, that's
Cigar
where I
with you.
started
Yeah,
smoking.
yeah.
It's
Right. That's what I
That's
want
a
to do
home away
when
from-
we're
I mean, I like Corona Cigar too. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We will see you next week. We'll get another postcard from Honest Abe next week. I don't have the guest list in front of me unless you do, Alex. I don't remember who is on next week, but we will post something later today with a little teaser. I know Coop doesn't like, well, it's not really a teaser because it's booked with our next week's guest. But thank you, Coop, again. And Coop, are you going to be on next week as well?
If you guys need me, I'm here. I'm here for.
We're calling it now. We want Coop.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm
we
back.
want Coop.
I'm back.
All right, guys. Until next week,
Yep.
keep it lit.